Okay. Where's everybody else at? Oh, there they are. Okay, so there's. Okay. I was tripping. Hey, fellas. Hey, everybody. Hey, Randy. What's up?
What's going on, Ms. Flint?
Sorry, y'all. I had a problem getting into my own Zoom. You know that's wild. All right. Thank you all for being here. Richard's coming in as soon as his video pops up here. How you doing, Odell?
All right. What's going on?
I'm sorry. I was like, everybody's like, is this the right one? And I'm like, yeah, I just got to learn how to get in here. I don't know why it was giving me such a hard time, but thank you all for coming on. Richard, can you turn your video on, or are you going to be?
Trying to turn it on right now. Something's going on with it. Let me check my settings real quick.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. I can hear everybody.
I think my video won't show up because Odell's on the call.
Well, that's what it is.
What's going on? My day's great.
You ain't fooling nobody. You ain't had no fresh haircut lately. That's what it is.
That too.
Everybody got the salt and pepper going, and I had to cover my braids up. I'm gonna push my thing down a little bit. Y'all letting it flow.
Man, I don't know what's going on with my video. My video would not come in. I'm gonna log off.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I'm gonna log off and log back in.
Okay. Cool.
See if that works. Y'all,
so this is gonna be pretty informal. I'm just gonna ask y'all, a couple of questions, and some of them will be specific to all of you, and some of them will be just, you guys. Larry was supposed to join us, but he has workouts all day today, so I didn't want to hold us all up for one person, so I'll get him at another time. But thank you all for sharing this time with me. I know that you all are busy men. So, well, while we're waiting for him, I wanna play around with something a little bit for a minute and see. Okay, let me see if I could put Randy. Nope, that's Odell. Trying to see how I can switch it to switch who's talking. That's all right. I guess if I don't know how to do it, I don't know how to do it. I was trying to see if I can switch it so that whoever's talking would be front and center, but that's all right. That would be doing a little too much. All right. So if we can begin, I'm not gonna do an intro. I'll just have you all just kind of introduce yourselves real quick, and just just give me a little snapshot, or not me, but whoever may be tuning into this, a little bit of history of actually all of us on here are not even from Minnesota, which is crazy, but I think we all came here in different years, and for various reasons. So Odell, let's start with you, sir.
All right. Well, do I need to say my name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Odell Wilson III. Live in North Minneapolis. Been living in Minnesota since about 1991. I came here doing an internship initially, and I was offered a job after my internship was completed. and ended up staying here. Got married a few years later, and this is where my family is. Got 3 kids, married, 3 kids, and I've been working for the federal government for the last 23 years, and native of the North Side. Children went to North High School, and one's still there. Actually, 2 graduates of North High School in Minneapolis, and there's a father and husband, and active in the community. I've always tried to be supportive of other youth in the community that may not have had a father around. Try to give sound advice, and then of course with my own children, being supportive of it, of any things that they're involved in.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And Randy, you're up next, since we're still trying to get Richard situated over here.
Okay. My name is Randy Carter, and I mean, and similar. I'm from Tennessee. I came here back in 1990. I attended the University of Minnesota, played basketball for the Gophers. Played overseas for about 10 years, and since 2004, I've been back in the cities, and I've coached, I've mentored. I'm an administrator in high school right now for high school students, and that's basically it. I mean, I'm also married, got a couple kids. My oldest son just is finishing up his master's degree in business, and my youngest son is a junior, going to be a junior in high school this year.
Awesome. Richard, while you're still, Richard, are you with us? Or you?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Well, we don't have video on you, but.
Well, everybody know I'm just the best looking one of the 3 men on the video screen, so everybody can just realize that.
Yeah.
Okay, Richard, if you could just tell us, how you came to come here to Minnesota and migrate here.
For sure.
Give us a little bit of an intro about yourself as well.
For sure. I'm originally from Aurora, North Carolina, population about 300. I actually came to Minnesota in 1986 to attend the University of Minnesota, play basketball. Since then, I've had raised 3 kids and been here ever since.
Okay. And Richard, just because I know a little bit more about you, could you tell us, what you did before you came to the University of Minnesota in terms of with?
Sure. So out of high school, I actually joined the military to protect and serve these other 2 knuckleheads we have on the call right here.
Thank you for your service.
All right, we appreciate you, man.
I was in the 82nd Airborne unit for 3 years, and once I ETS from the Army, I came to the University of Minnesota.
Awesome. Well, let me start off, or actually not start off because we've already started, but let me just say happy belated Father's Day to the 3 of you. The 3 of you are definitely 3 of the best fathers that I know of in all of the world. And I say that half jokingly, but you guys are men that have been, in one way or another instrumental in my own son's lives. And they are definitely boys that look up to you. I look up to you as men, as friends, as community people, as my brothers. So I do appreciate you all saying yes to the call for this. And, right away, I was like, I want to do something for fathers, because this is actually going to go on my website, which is called In My Lane. And it's really a platform for me to talk about the various ways that, I've had different life experiences through coaching, officiating, playing basketball and things of that sort. And it's really a platform also for girls. But I was like, I could not let Father's Day go by without bringing some really instrumental men. And Richard and Odell, you actually have daughters. So, you know, I will be speaking a little bit to that further, but thank you for the wonderful introductions. And can we just check in on, you know, we've got so much going on right now in our world. And, you know, the thing that made me start to do what I'm doing here was just by, you know, sitting in the house because of COVID-19. So people forget that COVID is actually still alive and well out there. So could you just talk about, you know, just kind of how you've been adjusting to that as men, as fathers? And we'll start with you this time, Randy.
I mean, I think that from the onset, it's definitely been disruptive, especially for like, you know, even aside from working, for our kids, especially for guys like Odell and myself, who had kids that were in high school, kids that were playing sports. You know, all of that was disruptive. Kids that we're still trying to make sure that learning is still being implemented in their, you know, in their lives, even while being at home since March. For me, it hasn't been as terrible because I've been at home as well. So by being at home, I've been able to stand on my son a little bit to make sure that, you know, that he still understands the importance of what's going on, you know, while practicing social distancing measures, but still being able to learn how to start to navigate this world. So I think, you know, I think it's been interesting, and it's going to continue to be interesting going forward, because we're ready to open the world back up, but we got to figure out how to continue to do it safely, particularly for our young athletes, you know, as well, and our young scholars that are going to be in school buildings with hundreds and hundreds of other kids. So that is something that I'm still looking forward to see how this plan plays out. But I've just tried to make sure I've done my best to make sure my son understands that this is a little bit more serious, you know, than he may believe as a younger kid.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Odell?
Yeah. So from a personal standpoint, I mean, I'm considered an essential worker because I work for the government. And although we, you know, again, the whole issue of practicing social distancing, a lot of people are working from home. I'm not that far from the office, so I mean, I've agreed to be the person who comes into the office with a skeleton crew, essentially. And so I haven't been cooped up in the house all day, every day, but you know, this has been a real learning experience, because I mean, when restaurants and things weren't open, I mean, it's something that allowed a teaching moment for my kids and even for myself, is that, you know, we all of a sudden we're eating meals together. You know, we're spending more time together. We're doing the things that we always, you know, say, you know, we got to do more of this, and we got to, you know, now it's almost forced upon you,
Mm-hmm.
and realize that, you know, it's actually a really good thing. You know, from the standpoint of my kids, I mean, the main thing is really helping them to, you know, they, you know, I got 16, 19, and 22. And, you know, just trying to convince them that they're not invincible. You know, I mean, this is serious, and that, you know, they want to be around their friends. And we're not meant to be alone. I mean, we're social beings. But I think that you know, the most difficult part is really trying to really get them to understand. I think, as Randy said, that this isn't just some fly-by-night thing. You know, and the really difficult part about it, again, speaking of Randy's son and mine, they're both in high school. They were getting ready to begin the state tournament stuff, and a complete interruption with that, as well as school. And you know, for them, you know, I mean, whether they admit it or not, I mean, it's a difficult thing because it's something that you don't get back again. And they're not going to do it over. It's gone, and now they have to have something to look forward to, and we have no idea how long this thing's going to drag out. I haven't heard a really good plan about whether they're going to get back in school again in the fall, or they're going to be, doing their work at home, doing their work from home. So, it definitely has had an effect on kind of how we do business at home. In anything, I guess, just about you can find something good in it. And I think the good in it was that, we're relying on each other. We're spending more time with each other. Having more discussion. We're not just passing each other up, because we all have things to do. And, that's a good, I mean, that's something that has come out of this. So, my biggest, I had my son, Biggs, Odell, the fourth, went back to school, and he had some, he was here, he was fine, but he started having what he thought was symptoms of coronavirus. The athletes are all back up there. He's working out with the team. And fortunately today that he called and said he was negative. And, so that's, it still is always a scary thing because everybody's not reacting to this thing the same, so just trying to keep a healthy balance and stay prayerful and trying to, stay out the way and hope, hoping that we are nobody close to us, contracts this thing.
Absolutely. And Richard, you have a little bit of a different take in that you're an empty nester. All your children are adults, and in a unique kind of way, you have 3 professional athletes, and one in the NBA and one in the WNBA. How is that? How is that with you? With did your children come home? Are they on their own? Like how is that? How is this for you?
It's been stressful from the standpoint of, I'm an essential worker as well, and I work for a nonprofit, and we have 6 24/7 facilities, shelters. We have 5 youth shelters, and we have an adult facility, and we probably have over 200 people in those shelters. So, work didn't stop for me. I'm in charge of all of them, so I had to show up and be there and lead through it. And it was really stressful because our adult facility, you got grown men that also, some of them are essential workers, so they leave in the house every day, going out in the community, riding the city transportation, going to work. If one person brings coronavirus back with them, the whole house gets it within a week. So it was a very stressful situation. Fortunately, we got through the first phase without having any of our shelters contracting the coronavirus. Although I've been quarantined 4 times because we've had people with symptoms that have been in my office talking to me, and now fortunately all the symptoms have come back negative. So that's a blessing.
Yes.
Then from a personal perspective, it's even more stressful. When this thing started, my daughter Nia was overseas, and they start shutting down flights, and it was she struggled to get home. We got her here, and then Amir is in LA, and LA got hit really hard, and fortunately, he's a homebody anyway, so he wasn't going anywhere. But I sent him some gloves and some face masks, and told him when he go to the grocery store, what to do. You just kind of talk to them about the process and try to hope that they understand how serious it is, because there's a lot of people that don't. Man, I got a buddy in North Carolina, and my closest buddy in the world. He don't think this crap is real. I had to stop talking to him. Because he telling me, I'm overreacting and I'm doing this and that, and I told him I don't have the luxury to think like you. I got over 200 people that's depending on me to make the right decision, and to understand that this thing is real. I can't afford to think like you, walk around like nothing's happening. So it's been very stressful. I as you mentioned earlier, I'm constantly on the telephone with the CDC of Minnesota. And, this thing isn't done. And you know, just because it's warm outside a little bit, you know, this thing isn't done in, you know, September, October, and November. I mean, it's going to rear its ugly head again, and it might be worse.
Mm.
So you know, I just want people to take, you know, to continue to wear their mask, glove. I wear, every time I pump gas, I put a glove on. I'm not touching anything that you touch. I'm just telling you right now. I'm not trying to touch anything. So it's a serious thing. You know, our community especially need to take it serious,
Mm-hmm.
because it has affected our community a great deal, and you know, for whatever reasons, well, we know the reason. You know, they decided to open up the largest Black city before they open up any other cities in the United States, and that being Atlanta.
Mm.
So it's just a dangerous thing. We got to take it serious, and people are dying from it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I just want to kind of change gears a little bit with you guys and just kind of talk about, you all have athletes in your home, sons, daughters, that have played, you have played. Can you guys kind of speak a little bit to the role that you play in your child, or has played in your child's life, in particular from when they started, you know, on up? So Odell, I'll let you start with this one. And that I know Sindel played a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And you had a daughter, then you know, it was the oldest, then you got two sons. And just how did you, what was your role? I believe out of all of us on here, I think you train your kids, but you have never like coached your kids. And I think you have a great perspective in terms of parents, you know, who let coaches coach. So can you just kind of speak to how you're, you know, the role that you play in your children's life as it relates to sports?
Well, I'll start with the first thing is, I mean, I made a choice. I made a conscious decision not to coach my children. You know, and I think it was based on experience. You know, I'm not saying that parents can't coach their children; they do it all the time. But I grew up in an area where I saw a lot of my father was my coach. Was, you know, and it wasn't a problem, but I did see the ugly side of it, and I saw where, you know, there are guys who, you know, I don't know if it's to this day, but really had rocky relationships with the fathers because they were coached by him. And what I would do, and this wasn't until it was time to get to the coaching part of it, was that, you know what, I'll find people who know what they're doing, who can coach my kids. I'll get out the way, and if they ask my opinion, I'll give them my opinion. But I didn't want to be on the front lines and down on the court or on the field with them, because I think it was really based on what I'd seen, you know, and I didn't, and you know, they're my sons, and I never wanted to get to that place, so I didn't take a chance with it. But I did make sure that we made very good decisions about who was coaching them. I mean, I just didn't let them go play for anybody. You know, the people that coached them were people who were well-rounded individuals who were respected in the community, who were teaching them the right things. You know, I was never far away. I mean, I'm right there. I mean, I'm always supportive of them in whatever they're doing. And so, you know, that was the first thing. You know, I think, you know, my role as a father with them is to do just that, is to be supportive. You know, I'll work them out and I'll do things like that. But I didn't want to be the person working with them with the X's and O's. I'm the person that they talk to about. I'll talk to them about the events or the games that they might be involved in. If they ask, well, my opinion, sometimes they don't ask, and I give it anyway. But you know, I felt like my role in being supportive was good. They've always had very good coaches. I mean, Crystal was probably both one of their first coaches as youth. Randy also, you know, as they got a little older, had an opportunity to get them when they got, you know, up into their teenage years. Prior to that, you know, it was at the local park board, you know, with individuals who were coaching them in football, who had very good insight into what's going on in the communities, and were very respected men in the community also. And so I may have taken the easy way out by just allowing someone else to do that part of it, and involving myself only when asked, or when I felt that my input was needed.
Thanks a lot for that. And Richard, we'll go to you next. And we had a little bit of a chat the other day about your role in your children's life. Can you just kind of speak to, and you have your girls were the oldest.
Right.
Your son was the youngest.
Right,
and can you kind of speak to maybe even the not only the role that you played, but was there a difference with your daughter and your sons? I have two boys,
sure.
and I coach girls, and sometimes I see that, the dads will tell their boys, you better suck it up and,
right.
Try hard. And then the girls, they have that a different level of expectation for them, that it should be given to them. That's his princess. Can you just kind of, I'm not saying that's how you were, but I've always wondered about how do parents, and in particular dads, what do you tell your daughters as opposed to what you tell your son? So
we all going to the gym. Every single one of us, ain't nobody opting out. You ain't got no choice. You going to the gym with me, you're gonna live in my house, you going to the gym. The one thing I know that could get you some free school is this. So you're going.
Hey, that for some people that works for them, and obviously it definitely worked for you, because like I said, your children.
Now, and in the beginning, Joe, seriously, Sydney, my oldest, was the first person that I've ever trained, and she taught me a lot. The one thing was a good listener. Mm-hmm. The first day I took Sydney to the gym, we worked hard, man, and I trained her like I played. Mm-hmm. I was very aggressive when I played, and you gotta give 150,000%. It was just, and I thought I did a great job. As a matter of fact, on the way back home, she was quiet in the back seat. I thought she was really tired. She was so quiet. She got home, she ran upstairs to her mom, Shiva, she said, my wife came down and at the time and said, he never wanted to go to the gym with you again. So I listened to that. I heard what Sydney said, and I said, well, we're going to, I said this to myself, we're going to the gym. So now it's up to me to figure out how I can get Sydney to train where it was fun for her. So I listened to what Sydney said. So all that night I said, okay, how can I be different? I can't be myself. I want fathers to know that you can't coach to your personality. You got to coach to your child's personality. And I do that for all three of my kids. So I knew Sydney had two girlfriends that wanted to play basketball too. So I would pick them up. The three of us would go to the gym, and we would do the drills, and I got involved with it, and see who can beat dad up and down the court. I got all the drills done. After every practice, we went and had ice cream, or we went and got something to eat, and Sydney loved it because the socializing part is what she loved, and I got my training in too. Now, Nia was different. Nia was more like me. Nia's a warrior. The more you in Nia's face, the better she plays. I remember a game in Minnehaha when she had the flu, and she was out there warming up. She actually threw up in warm-ups. And it was a sectional game, so she had to play. And she came up, she found me in the stands, and she came up there and she said, I really need to hear your voice tonight. I really need to hear your voice. So all night, I did what I normally do, yell warrior up. Every time I see her slacking, I yell warrior up, and she was it. That was it. Now, Amir was totally different. You can't say nothing to his sensitive butt until 2-3 days later. But I figured that out, and I would let him come to me, right? I mean, I coached them all, though. And the reason I got involved with coaching them all in the beginning is I never forget this. Nia didn't play right away. She didn't want to. I didn't force them to play. But when they came to me and say, let's play, I said, okay, are you sure? Because if you're going to play, this is how it's going to be. Sydney played first. Nia ran track, didn't play basketball. I got Amir involved really early. Sydney didn't play till she was in the 6th grade. Nia didn't play till she was 7th grade. Now, Amir started playing as soon as he could walk, really. And I remember, I think he was maybe 3rd grade, 2nd grade, trying out for a 3rd grade team in Armstrong. And I took him. The dude was coaching. You know, he called me that night. He said, hey, you know, Mr. Coffey, you know, Amir made the team. I was like, cool. I said, what? I said, where are you going to play him at? And he said, well, he's one of the taller kids on the team, so we can play him at the 4 or the 5. I said, Coach, man, I appreciate it, but we're going to find something else to do. And that's when I got on the phone that same night, and I called some buddy of mine, and I said, I got to put a team together because my son's playing the point. I don't care what happened to me is not going to happen to him. What happened to me, I'm 6'6". 6'6" today, you a point guard or a 2 guard. You definitely ain't no 4 or 5. Right. And I played 4, and I struggled to play 4 because of my height. Now, I was nasty enough that I got by, but I am strong enough, but those guys were bigger. I got a picture in my house of me guarding Karl Malone, and Karl Malone got me looking like a little Tinker truck. I mean, that was a big cat. So I said, Amir's going to play the point. I'm going to control that. So if he's 6'1", he'll have a chance. If he's 6'8", he's going to have a chance. He just ended up, now he grew to be 6'8", but he has point guard skills, and that has helped him through the years. So, but you do have to find people. I agree with Odell. I knew eventually I couldn't coach them, and all the way through. So I had to find people that I can trust, and I found people. I found Parrish Curry, who's an amazing coach, who is aggressive. He knows basketball. I found him for Amir. For the girls, you know, I found, you know, Tracy Martin coached the girls for a little bit. And then I was really fortunate too with with high school basketball, Coach Kaz and Novak. You know, two good coaches, really great program. You know, they changed. You know, I went to Coach Kaz when the girls were in 7th grade in high school. I started watching Hopkins High School basketball, and I saw how they played. And they were walking up and down the court, and the whole team was white. And had one black girl, she was sitting on the bench. And I went to Coach Kaz, and I said to him, I said, man, you don't got no black kids on your team. The boys basketball team is full of black kids. Those boys on the boys basketball team, they don't have no sisters. And I said, I got some kids coming through. He's like, well, I know. And he said, well, I want to play different. I said, well, okay, but because if you walking, we ain't coming. We want to run. I got athletes. So, we talked, he changed. And, and then Novak was perfect for Amir because, a lot of coaches would have put Amir in a position. I remember when Novak when Amir made Novak's team as a freshman to play varsity, he would always come out of the game first. And Amir asked me, man, he always take me out first. I said, go talk to him. That's not my job. You go talk to him. You got to become a man. Go talk to him. And Novak told him, he said, I'm taking you out because you're not aggressive. You want to play longer, be aggressive. And he played Amir at every position. He let Amir play every single position. Amir played the point. Amir played center. He told Amir, bring the ball up. So he was really open to having, even though there were smaller kids on the team, he was open to, he saw Amir's ability. So we were fortunate. We were fortunate to in my kids' basketball career, and everything worked out. There's some things that I might do differently.
Hold up on that one because that is actually going to be one of my questions. So I'll let you talk about that one a little bit. But Randy, I've actually had the pleasure of coaching with you, and it's funny because I was like, when there was a coach's turnover, and I said, yeah, Randy, you go on, you coach, and I help you. And you was like, nah, you coach, and I help you coach. And so, and I think we ended up just co-coaching. But, just speak to, did you also coach Kaharri, or how did, just kind of talk about your role?
No, I didn't really coach Kaharri until high school. I think when I came home, I finished playing basketball probably in about 2004. and I was so burnt out. I was so burnt out from playing over there. I just kind of fell back. And so and I kind of watched Kaharri. I said I was going to be supportive, and me and my wife would, we would have these spirited debates all the time, because she's like, you need to coach your kid. You need to coach your kid. And I'm like, no, he's good. He's good. And so I think this went on probably until Kaharri was maybe 10th grade or so. I think I saw him. I went to one of the games, and I was just watching everything. And he was playing JV. I think he had about 20 points at the end of the game, and he was excited. He was like, "Yeah, Dad, I was out there. I'm doing this." And I just looked at him and I said, "Man, you're not very good." I was like, "We gotta." I gotta be honest with you. He had all of my mentality, all my aggressiveness, all those things. But the skills and the little things that I knew he should be doing, he just was not doing. And I realized at that point that, I don't. Maybe this is my fault that no one has taught you the merits of the game. And so when Chase came along, like when you called me, it was almost a questionnaire to get Chase, like, because I was like, this kid, I don't know how far he'll go. I don't know what will happen, but he will know how to play the game. He will understand how to play the game. So I took a very early and active role in Chase's process. And I'm not a big fan of coaching my kid. I'm not, because for me, that dad coach line gets blurred a little too often. But I also understand that I think, in terms of finding the right people, like Odell and them were fortunate to find the right people. I don't know if I was that fortunate with Kaharri. So with Chase, I wanted to make sure we were in good people, and we had great people with Grace and with me and you. I think one of the things about these kids that me and you had, Crystal, was that like it was phenomenal watching those kids execute, understand, read, react, not just dribble and play. So I think we taught these kids skills that are still carrying them today, and so for me, I prefer to just be supportive, but I'm not afraid to step in, when it's necessary to help my kid and any of the other kids that I'm watching that aren't, that I feel like are missing out on some important pieces of basketball that they're going to need to carry them further.
Awesome. Yeah, fit is very important regarding where your kids play. As Richard stated, the position that they are in, the system that they are in. That stuff is all important.
It's huge.
Go on.
No, it's huge. No, I agree with you.
And it could make or break, a child's, ability to go as far as they need to go. But in regards to fit, I'm going to start with you again, Odell, regarding this. And I don't think I've mentioned, or any of us did, but Odell is the father of Odell Wilson IV, who's at North Dakota State. No.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
North Dakota State University, going into his third year. Odell is also, his son is Willie Wilson, both play at Minneapolis North High School. Actually, Willie is a rising junior at Minneapolis North High School. Randy Carter is the father of Kaharri Carter. And, I jokingly talk about Kaharri. And Randy, I'll come back to you regarding this. Kaharri went to Minnehaha Academy and then on to a number of different colleges. And Chase Carter is also class of 2022, who is now also at Minnehaha Academy. And Richard Coffey, his children are Sydney Coffey, Amir Coffey, and Nia Coffey, all played at Hopkins High School, and all played, were blessed to play professional basketball. Nia plays with the Aces in the WNBA. Amir is with which LA team is he with, or is he with the Clippers?
The Clippers.
He's with the Clippers in LA. So Richard is a WNBA father, an NBA father, and his oldest daughter Sydney played overseas. So that is, I mean, whatever, we'll talk about that in a minute, Richard, but whatever you got, we're gonna bottle that up and we're gonna ask God to share that with all of us. but Odell, speaking about fit and coaches and system, you know, your children, and I've heard you say this, I know this for a fact because I coached at Minneapolis North High School. You live over North, your kids play over North. Your children could have gone to any private school, any top school in the state, and you chose to keep your children right in their community. And could you just talk briefly about, the thought process of that and not, perhaps, breaking to peer pressure or keeping up with the Joneses. And both of your boys also play football. You actually played football at Penn State. And I'll get to that in a second too. And Randy, I know I'm keeping track of the time. I know you got to go in a minute, but Odell, could you just kind of talk about the thought process of you keeping your boys in the community and playing at home?
Well, I mean, it was early on that I, made a decision that I would, that it was important for not only myself, but my family to be an active part of the community and also be an example for the community. Richard talking about his son being 6'6", but his son was probably 6'6" and 100 some odd pounds. Biggs was 6'3", 200 in 7th grade. So, we're talking about fit and we're talking about those things. I mean, as a 7th grader, I had to make a decision whether to actually let him play high school basketball at that time. Mm-hmm. And I made a decision to have him back and play with for you along with his peers. And when I say his peers, they were maybe a year older, because I just thought at the time it was important for him to finish up kind of what he started with that group of peers, that group of guys, and then he went on to play varsity basketball as an 8th grader. But as far as the community is concerned, we live in North Minneapolis. I mean, we live in the heart of the city. We live in what they call the suburbs in the city. We live in a cul-de-sac, and right outside the cul-de-sac is, walking distance from North High School. Social economics is not what anybody would hope to have to live through. And there are people who need examples, that, it doesn't matter where we are. And North Minneapolis is very similar to where I came from, where I was born and raised. So, my coworkers often ask me, why do you live? And it's like, well, first of all, why not? And I say, and I'm not afraid of my people. I'm not afraid of my community. So my reasons for being here, the opportunity to be here, I wanted to make sure that first myself, that I'm an example for people to say, hey, you can't say that you don't know anybody who works a decent job and drives a decent car and lives in a decent, because I know people in the profession that I am, and I'm a federal probation officer, say, I didn't know anybody like that growing up. Everybody that I grew up around was doing, were doing other things. And I'll be the first to say that the opportunity for them to play in their community, I really felt like, there are people who invest in time in them, energy, and I just didn't believe that after people have invested that amount of time and energy and help you to develop as a person first and foremost, and as an athlete, that you take that and you just take it someplace else. I really believe that the benefit to the community was far greater than it would be for you to go and give somebody else something to cheer about. I mean, I know that being a part of school programs that they're in, playing football and basketball, when they're going to state tournaments and those kind of things, I've seen people see each other that hadn't seen each other in years. You know what I mean? Because of the event, and that, you know, there's things that help heal the community, and I believe that part of it, sports does a lot. You know, and having an opportunity to have them understand that and know that, you know, it's not just about you and what you can get out of other individuals, and then just take it. You know, I mean, I just really felt like it was important to represent the community. You know, I believe it's important for my kids being at North High School. You know, when they, like Willie right now, he's at North High School. He watched, you know, these kids don't get to go to the Twins game. They don't get to go to the Timberwolves. They can't afford it. So guess who becomes the person that they're looking to, who they're looking up to? You. And so that means that you got to conduct yourself a certain way. There's high expectations, and I was like Richard. I mean, you know, the first thing Willie and Biggs did was figure skate. I mean, I didn't coach, but I knew there were certain things that would help them to be better, to be really good at, or at least to have an opportunity in the sports that they want to. I told Biggs, I said, he was always a big kid. I said, you're going to be big right away. Yeah. So I'm throwing him tennis balls. I'm throwing him golf balls. I'm throwing him basketball. Because I said, if you can't catch, you're not getting the ball. You know what I mean? If you want to play basketball, if you can't catch, I ain't worried about football. He's going to be blocking. But basketball, if you can't catch, you got a problem, son. You know, I said, because 6'6", 270 on a basketball court, you're not playing point guard. You're not playing the three either. Not in high school. You're going to have to be able to. And so, you know, I mean, things were calculated. I mean, you know, there were things. And of course, we know. It was funny because we were having a conversation the other day. You know, as 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, I mean, there are kids who were just much better. You know, they were bigger, they were strong. And I told them that. I said, well, you know, you're probably not going to believe me now because I'm your father. I said, but in about 3 or 4 years, all you guys are going to pass that kid up because he's kind of got it all now. You know what I mean? And so being able to, you know, I mean, the kids who are in the community, I mean, many don't have fathers. Many don't have a lot of support. You know, so I felt that it was important, not only for me to have them here, because I know that their friends weren't going to be going anywhere different. They weren't having the same opportunities, but if they're going to be there with them, I want to be able to support them also. So I just felt it's very important to remain close to home and to you know, go through it with the guys that you can. I mean, doesn't mean that somebody else might not make a different decision. I mean, but that's my thinking. You know, that was my drive and my continue to still have these conversations with people who, you know, sometimes they feel the grass is greener on the other side, and sometimes it works out for them, and sometimes it doesn't. You know, but I just felt that their best chance of success was right here in the community that they were raised in.
Awesome. Very, very well said, very well put. And I think the community definitely appreciates it. And Randy, I know you got to go in a few minutes, and I don't want to take all of you guys. This is probably something I need to do a little more often. I think there's so much more that we actually could get to. And you guys are great voices for as men, as fathers, as former athletes. Oftentimes I see a lot of dads that, you know, it's all about their child, and the three of you are great examples of men that are for everybody's children. Richard, I've seen you, even after your children graduated, come back and coach fall ball at Hopkins. You know what I'm saying? Odell, you know, you give rides, you know, kids spend the night. And Randy, you go deep into your pocket. You know, there's been times that I've sent Tre on trips with you, and just to see you, you know, just constantly give back to other people's children, and it's not just about your children, is really a breath of fresh air. But before I let Randy go, and then I'm gonna ask a couple more questions and we'll be done with this. But I did, I cannot let this time go by without asking each of you as fathers, with all that's going on in our country, being Black men, seeing, the murder of George Floyd, and continuously these injustices to Black men around the country. And as a mother, I know how I feel and the things that I tell my son, but I don't know what it is like for a Black man such as yourselves. And what is it that you tell your children? What is it that you tell your family? How do you hold it together when men are supposed to be, the protectors, and this, it's almost like you guys are hunted right now, and women as well. But as men, how do you channel all of that and still go on and still be fathers and still lead the way in your communities? I'll let you, Randy, start with this in the event that you have to check out, and please leave whenever you need to. Then I'll go to you, Richard, then I'll go to you, Odell. Okay, so Randy, if you could just kind of speak to, as a Black man, like, how is it, and what do you tell your sons, and how do you protect your family and your community?
Well, for me, I think this has all been based on knowledge. Knowledge is power. Education, and being able to put yourself in a position to help create change. The George Floyd situation is so unfortunate, and I hate that happened, but I am also very, very pleased at people standing, at people standing and people fighting and people wanting to force and demand change. This has been way before George Floyd for me. I was raised by a single mom in Memphis, Tennessee, who was born in the 50s and 60s, and me being born in the 70s. So I've heard this message every day, of my life, of being a Black man in America, of how I need to be faster, how I need to be stronger, how I need to be better, just to have an opportunity to play on that playing field, to level the playing field. So that message has continued along with my children, in terms of that's what they've heard every day. You got to be faster. You got to be stronger. You got to be smarter, just to have an opportunity. Now, over the years, we've unfortunately gotten to the point where I almost have to give a predetermined speech for if you get pulled over, how to announce your intentions, how to be careful reaching for your wallet too fast, how as large Black men, people are already afraid of you from the rip. So how now to make your intentions clear? And it's sad that I feel like I have to do that, but I've had to do that for myself. Make sure you check your anger. Make sure, that we channel this, and make sure we put this in the right place and in the right direction. I don't think that the world, I don't think they understand. I don't think they understand what it's like to be Black, what it's like to be Black in America. Like I said, we are seeing some change. We are seeing some people that are demanding change, which is good. But we got so far to go. And again, coming from the Deep South and in the 70s and 80s, I'm not saying that things haven't happened. Things have changed, but we're not even close to scratching the surface of what we're talking about when we're talking about true equality and equitable opportunities for all. and you know, and the opportunities that everybody should deserve. So as a father, I've just had to continue to make sure that my kids are educated, you know, on all walks of life. And so that they understand how to how to avoid situations, how to be, when you're in that situation, how to handle yourself. And again, so that no one ends up on the wrong side of a bullet over something dumb or something stupid that can be handled pretty easily just by conversation.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Well put. Richard.
Yes.
And you're from you're from the South as well.
I grew up in it. Grew up in it in the 60s. Started KKK as an 8-year-old boy, burnt the cross in my neighbor's yard. As an 8-year-old boy, looking out my window, seeing that burning cross, being a kid, is having to actually go pick up the ashes the next day. It's all my life I've been dealing with it, and it hasn't gone anywhere. The only thing that's different now is cell phones and their cameras. That's what's different. Now it's getting recorded. It hasn't increased. It hasn't increased from the 70s and the 80s. It's been happening. Mm. But now people are recording these incidents. Without the recording of these incidents, it would still be getting pushed under the table. They would still be lying about what happened as an incident. So what I have decided to do as a Black man is I am not being quiet anymore. I'm going to use my platform to speak on it. I don't care what you think about what I say and how I feel. If you don't like what I say, the hell with you. Because we dying. We are dying. These young men are dying. We are dying at the hands of crooked ass policemen, racist policemen. Yeah, there are some good cops. So, and I got friends that are good cops. So what I say to my friends, good cops, speak up. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sorry, we are dying. I had a bunch of my white friends call me and ask me, what can you do? You know what I told them? Stop being quiet.
Yes.
Stop sitting on the sideline. Mm-hmm. Your money is not the answer. Mm-hmm. Stop being quiet. You see something, say something. That's what you can do. Damn it, people that look like me, I'm dying. I got a Black son. Get involved. So if you run across me, I see something, I'm saying something. If you ask me a question, you might not like to ask because I'm giving it to you straight and I'm giving it to you raw. America is a racist ass country. Period. It was found on racism. It was found on violence. That damn national anthem that they got us singing, play the third stanza. It talks about killing slaves. Mm. The American flag that everybody celebrates, that flag don't mean the same to me that it means to white people. That flag been protecting y'all all your life. That flag has killed us all of our damn life. So I'm different on this. I'm not being quiet anymore. I'm not being quiet and I'm not getting muffled. You know, America teaches us to muffle our voice. Mm. America teaches us, don't be too loud because we'll take your job. Don't be too loud because we'll put you in your place. I'm done with that. Hell, I'd rather be in North Carolina. At least I know who hates me in North Carolina. When you grow up in the South, they let you know. In places like Minnesota, that Minnesota nice, they smile in your face and talk behind your back. So America it's a different experience for us than it is for other people. And I tell, and I'm not muffling my voice, whether you Black, white, blue, or green. If you ask me, you're gonna get how I feel. I'm tired of walking in the store, walking around the freaking grocery store aisle, little white boy in the middle of the aisle playing. White lady see me now. Oh, come close to me, baby. Stay close to mama. Well, his ass wasn't close to you 10 minutes ago. I mean, I'm sick of it, dude. I'm angry about it. Yes. I mean, I am. I mean, and the freaking criminal justice system, DOC, it's so freaking unfair. One of the shelters we got is a halfway house. Man, I see these men coming out of prison, and man, sometimes these probation officers are treating them. Man, I'm like, I mean, treat them like crap. So it's my job as the head of the household. I'm always on the phone with DOC complaining. I'm always telling them, calling out the probation officer name. I'm not being quiet anymore. I'm not. I'm tired of you treating Black men like crap. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of seeing these brothers come out of prison for things that other people don't even go to prison for. Or getting 20 years for a crime that somebody else get 3 years for a crime. I'm tired of it. And I'm tired of them seeing them come out of prison and then the damn probation officers doing everything they can to send them back to prison. I'm sick of it. I had this one brother the other day at our halfway house. He was all set to leave on Wednesday to go to his apartment. Probation officer got pissed with him, called him on Monday and said, "You going back to prison." The dude was like 59. He came to my office crying. And man, they trying to send him back. I say, for what? You leave, you move out in like 2 days. Like, you've done everything here you asked us to do. So I called the probation office. I said, dude, what's going on? Well, he was supposed to be out by Monday. I said, okay, 2 days. We'll give him a 2-day extension. He's leaving on Wednesday. Well, it was supposed to be Monday. So you gonna send him back to down prison? Because it's 2 days later? I'm sick of the system. The system sucks for Black people. It sucks for Black men. And I'm tired of being quiet about it. So I'm gonna use my voice. I'm gonna use my position to do what I can do to fix it. Now everybody ain't good. Some of them need to be in prison, right? But for the ones that come out and they're trying to do better, I am gonna work for them. And I'm gonna be on the job for them, and I'm gonna try to help them get, because for whether you're a conservative or a liberal, if you're a conservative, or conservatives that's listening, it's cheaper to make sure people are successful outside of prison than it is to have them in prison every night. It's cheaper for a man to take care of himself with a job in a house than to have him in prison. Liberals. It's better that we get these guys jobs and good housing so that they can stay out of prison. So I'm fighting the fight. My voice is gonna be loud. My voice is gonna be big. I'm gonna lose some friends. The hell with it. I could care less. I just don't care. We're dying. We are dying. And I hate people when they say, well, you know, the cops kill more white people every year than Black people. Not per capita, idiot. And so I'm loud right now, and I don't care about it. Like I'm tired. I'm done being quiet. I'm done being quiet because we've been quiet. We protest. Colin, we can't kneel. If we kneel, we're kneeling against the flag, peaceful and quietly. If we march, just regular march, you don't hear us. So now the youth, that's the generation that's going to change things. The young people, that's the generation that's going to change because they brave, man. Black and white. The young generation, they are brave. They are brave. These kids are in high school. They ain't worried about no job, nobody taking their job. They don't have a damn job. They ain't worried about nobody taking their job. They out there changing things. They're changing things. They are standing up to what's wrong in this country. And man, I applaud them. It's gonna be the youth that change this country. I was talking to my daughters about that the other night. Nia wanted to make a statement. And Nia's kind of reserved. She wanted to make a statement. Amir wanted to make a statement. And so now they play for organizations. Nia played for the Phoenix Suns, Amir played for the LA Clippers. But they wanted to say something. So they called me and they was like, Dad, I have a platform. I want to say something. I want to say something. And then Amir's agent called me and was like, LA, I can get him an interview with the LA Times. LA Times is a huge newspaper. So I was like, yeah, do that. I said, but let's make sure, that he understands the questions and, he can answer them. I mean, he had a great interview with LA Times. Nia put together a statement and sent it to the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns loved it. They put it out on their site, put it everywhere. I mean, these young people, they're different thinking than my parents. My parents worked all the time. They were trying to make ends meet. You know, we having beans and rice for 5-6 days in a row. I just thought my mama liked cooking beans and rice. I didn't know we couldn't afford no meat. I mean, so they're just trying to make ends meet. You know, they worked their butt off. They kept, you know what? Keep your head down and keep working hard. That was their generation. My generation was very similar. I'm 54 years old. My generation was very similar. Keep your head down and keep working. You know, stay in your lane. But now my kids' generation and the generation after them, they're not staying in their lane. If you do something wrong and 2 lanes over, they over there protesting your butt. And I applaud them. Keep it up, because that's how change happens. Keep it up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Odell.
Mm-hmm.
How you know, as a dad, you know, how do you help your children navigate this time and space that we're in?
I mean, you know, I had a conversation with a judge the other day about the talk. And he asked me, when did I talk to my kids, you know, about how to protect themselves, you know, in the community against violence, you know, perpetrated by people who are supposed to be protecting them, you know. And, you know, and I had an honest conversation with him, and I basically just told him, I said, you know, what I knew was the first time that I had that conversation, there's a level of innocence that's going to be gone forever. Because what I'm basically telling them is that because the color of your skin is not something you can't do anything about, that you're going to be treated differently than people that look differently than white people. I mean, that was your friends. Color blindness goes out the window. You know, I don't think people are born racist. I don't think people are, but I think your experiences shape you. I think your who you're around shapes you. And so I told him, I said, you know, when I had the conversation, I said, you know, as a father, you know, and as a man, it really, it's really a difficult thing, because you know, right there's a level of innocence that just is gone. It's not coming back. That's it. They realize that they have a target on their back. You know, that they can't express themselves the same way little Johnny can express himself to in the community. I think what Richard said, you should have you have the right to be angry when there's something to be angry about. You have the right to ask a question if you're pulled over and you know you haven't done anything wrong. The concern, though, is that you got to do the complete polar opposite of what you have the right to do. What you know, you have the right to free speech. You have the right, but and even in some instances, like what we just saw with George Floyd and many others, is this is the difficult part. You can be 100% compliant and 100% respectful, and then you die because somebody else's evil intent. And so I was talking to Judge. I said, you know, the event of the cell phones and those type of things are interesting. Is interesting because now the world, I think, what the difference with this, I said, this feels different. It looks different. I said, there's marches that you see. I'm looking for the black faces in the marches, because take a picture of a march from the 1960s and sit it next to the marches that you've seen recently. This is a diverse crowd of people. And I, you know, and they're young, and as Richard said, they're brave. I think 8 minutes and 43 seconds of watching somebody, the life get choked out of them, I think really made. Unfortunately, it took that, because guess what? We don't know how many of the time, countless times this has happened all over the place. So you know, it just wasn't on film. And here's another thing: when you talk about a systematic problem, since then, look how many incidences that you've seen. 100. I mean, you think since then, you think somebody in the same type of position would say, "Wait, you know, maybe I really need to take a look at." No, you see that it continues, and those are the ones that's caught on camera. So, you know, I used to. So growing up, my parents from Mississippi, sharecroppers. And it sounds weird coming from me. until later on, it's like, when my mom first told me that she was a sharecropper and my father was a sharecropper on the land adjacent to them, the first thing I said, no, like that's the history books, that's from way back when. She was born in 1945. I was just like, that's from, like, you couldn't be a sharecropper. She said, do you know sharecropping didn't end until dang near the 70s, like the late 60s? I was like, what?
Right.
Because it's something I read in the history. It seemed like, oh, that's 100 years, that's hundreds of years. No, that wasn't the case. And then, and as I got older, they would tell me more. I think that innocence that I talk about having that talk, I think my parents saved it for me for later on, because as I got to become a little older, in my early 20s, sharecropping was like a minuscule from slavery. My mother said lived on the land of the individual who owned the property. The more kids you had, the more you earned. You sharecrop, which meant most people who were sharecropping couldn't read or write. Okay, and there was no schools for them to go to really learn. Mm-hmm. The sharecropper, the owner of the property that you lived on in the house that you lived in, owned the general store. And she said, and this is kind of how it went. It didn't matter how old you were. It was your size. So when her mother had children, the owner of the property let her know when her child was old enough to start working in the field. And it was based on that person's size, not age. So there's no rules, and you work sun up to sundown. And you work when you were pregnant. And you didn't, and you worked the way they wanted you to work. And if you didn't, you had to get off their property. And then they would tell all the other people in the area not to hire you, and then what do? But the thing that happened often was they worked, they sharecropped, they bought their goods from the general store, which the property owner owned. And then what happened is when the wintertime came, because it's in Mississippi, so cropping was the thing. So you couldn't do anything to make money during that period of time. They were robbing you in terms of what they're paying you, because you had to take their word for it for how much you earn. Right? So what would happen is, since they got their stuff from the general store, by the time the winter ended, you're in debt. Mm. So they owed the property owner because they got their goods from them. It didn't have no car. So it was so. I used to wonder. I said, well, my parents told me. My father told me they moved away when my parents were married when they were like 20, 21. He said I moved away because I knew that I did not want my child to grow up in an environment like this, where somebody else tells you your kid doesn't. His kids are going to school, but your child is big enough to get in the field. Now, my father used to tell me, I didn't think that a kid could be in 7th grade and be as big as my father told me he was when he was a kid. And then I had one.
Would have been, wow.
Exactly. But he said, going to the fields at 12 and 13-year-olds, throwing 100-pound bales of hay up into the barn, for hours and hours during the course of the day. And you worked until they told you it was time to start working, which is usually dusk or getting ready to, nighttime. And you got up the next day and you did it all over again. And there were people who didn't know anything else. That's pretty much, that was it. And I was born in Philadelphia and then raised in Massachusetts. And so I used to wonder why sometimes when things happen, like my father would watch certain things on television, I was like, what is wrong with you? And he'd be, those white people, he'll say, and I'm like, because my experience was completely different. I'm in Massachusetts where you have an education. There's nothing but schools there, and education is pushed. And then I had my first experience with, okay, I'm with a crowd of people. I'm an athlete. I'm hanging out with people who are from the other side of town, right? And I think I was like Richard. I grew up in the project. I thought we lived there because we wanted to, because everybody else there looked like us. And I realized later on that no, we're there because you had to be, not because your parents made a conscious decision that they wanted to live there. But I had one of my first experiences where, with some other guys, and we're walking down the street, we get stopped. Well, these friends of mine, we played football together, and the first person they point out, the officer points out is me. and he wants to question and ask me all kinds of questions. I'm wondering, well, why are you asking? Like, why'd you come to me? Like, we're all together. And so that experience, as I got older, I start to realize my father's anger was, later on he told me, he said, we had to walk the other side of the street. You couldn't look a white man in the eye in Mississippi. When your mother raised these kids along with them because you live on the same property, you're sharecropping. So you raise, so they're raising that kid. But when that kid gets to be 16 or 17, you got to start calling him sir. Kid that you raised, you changed his diapers, you fed him at your kitchen table. And when they got a certain age, he said, that's not what I wanted. I said, I did not, I never want, I just had, I'll take my chances going someplace else. And he said, he said, and no different like the Minnesota Knights, it was Massachusetts Knights, Right. It's like, they're not going to call you, because, they're educated in Massachusetts, a billion, scholars and what have you. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, they'll smile in your face, and when you're not looking, it's, you're no different than the next person. And so when I'm talking about them and have my own personal experience and having parents who, I work for the government. My father couldn't believe I had a job working for the government. He couldn't believe it. No, he's like, he could not fathom.
Wow.
And for him, it was like, that's the government that made all these laws and said things are supposed to be better in Mississippi, and then just left us there with Jim Crow and sharecropping. And he said, that's who you work for? It was a bittersweet thing. He's like, well, I'm glad you got a good job, but I don't trust him.
Mm-hmm.
He said, because my experiences was really bad and nobody came to help. It was hell, And so I mean, to try to stay optimistic and to try to, to tell your kids, hey, these are the things that you have to do to be successful. And then understand it only takes one bad encounter and then they could be gone forever. Even if they do all the right things, say the right things. I mean, it's a difficult thing to kind of navigate. But I'm very much like Richard. I at this particular point in time, I think this is a time where everybody needs to, to speak up. Your white counterparts calling and saying, I say, hey, you know what? The best thing you can do is teach your kids to be tolerant, to understand that they're no better than anybody else, but also let them know they have a privilege that their black friends don't have, and that they should not laugh at the jokes, and they should, you know what I mean? They should speak up if they see somebody doing something that is contrary to what you teach them. I said, because white powerful men are the ones that really have a really strong voice, which is why we haven't heard from the NFL at all. You've heard nothing from NFL owners, zero. I mean, they're powerful, they're rich, and would really be helpful if they would lend their voice to this cause. But you haven't heard a word. You heard Roger Goodell, but you haven't heard a word from a single owner.
Wow, that's true.
And it's difficult. And I tell them, and I'll say this now, and I'll be done. I don't know where people have given up their position of power, authority, or privilege where there's not been bloodshed. I said, what's happening right now and the changes that we're seeing is race, but there's an element out there that's going to take their shot. You just wait and see. I mean, it's inevitable. There's nothing's been gained in the areas that we're talking about that we have the right to have, whether it be finances, housing, jobs, or what have you, without bloodshed, without I mean, really, and when I say bloodshed, I mean, I'm not talking about, maybe not real blood, but the fight will be on. It will be, and we've got to be able and willing to speak up and to fight the good fight and to educate people about what they can do to be helpful. Folks that look like us and those who don't.
Absolutely. Very well. Like thank you so much, Odell, for that That's a history lesson right there. You speak about your parents were sharecroppers. I was raised by my grandparents, and my grandmother had a 3rd grade education, and she talked about picking cotton. And I was like, picking cotton, like my grandmother did that in the South, and I'll be 50 this year. So, that wasn't a long, long time ago. So thank you for that history lesson. I appreciate
funny, when you talk about picking cotton, I mentioned to you about when you get big enough, you go to the fields or whatever. And my mom, I did not realize until I got to college, one day my light bulb just came on. I did not realize my mother could not read and write. She used to fake it. I had no clue.
And probably worked.
She went to she stopped going to school in the 4th grade. But to me that don't mean nothing. I mean, and one day I can't remember what I was doing. I think I was I'm in college, and I was just thinking back. I think they probably talked to me about the sharecropping stuff, and it hit me one day. I was just like, damn, whenever my mother went somewhere where documents needed to be signed or that kind of thing, there was a lady from the neighborhood that went with her and most of the other women. Mm-hmm. She didn't drive because she probably couldn't. She couldn't pass the. How you gonna pass the permit test? You can't. You don't understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, my grandmother didn't.
It hit me like a ton of. And I never had a discussion with her about it, but it hit me. It's like, God dog it. 4th grade. How much How much could she possibly have known? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a strange thing, but it just then like when you start thinking back on different situations, different scenarios. When I was young and I tell her, hey, I don't understand it, but then she called my sister who was a year older and said, hey, show him this. I gotta go cook this whatever. Mm-hmm. No, that wasn't that. So she couldn't show.
She didn't know how to do it. She didn't know how to do it. But the one thing that those your mother did, my grandmother did, our parents did, was they stressed education. Like that was not negotiable. You going to you got to graduate from high school. High school was you got to
a big deal. A real big deal.
Yeah. But I don't want to keep you guys. Randy, thanks for staying in. Richard had to go. But I appreciate this, and I didn't get to nearly what we wanted to get to. But you guys, I gotta post this. I think I'm gonna do a watch party of this one.
Let's do it again.
For sure.
Yeah. I'll be more than happy to do it.
For sure, because I think there's so much more information that you guys have that can share, that can really educate a lot of people, young and old, black and white, male and female. So I appreciate you all taking this time. I love you guys because you guys mean a lot to so many people, and you've done a lot for so many people. I do appreciate all that you've done, all that you're continuing to do in the community. I ask that you guys, stay safe, be vigilant, and continue to make your presence known, because you're needed. So I appreciate it. Anything important before we go? Randy, got anything before we go?
Nope, I gotta go. Let's do it again. Talk to you guys soon.
Odell, thank you so much, brother. All right.
Take care.